The rock was black. It glistened under the Brazilian sun. It did not belong among the other gray, salt-bleached stones on the beach. João Pereira de Souza stopped walking. He shaded his eyes with a calloused hand. He had walked this beach on his island home for 50 years. He knew its tides. He knew its stones. This one was new. He was a retired bricklayer, a man of 71 years. His life was simple. He fished. He tended a small garden. He walked the beach. The black shape disturbed the familiar pattern of his day. He walked closer. A smell reached him, a thick chemical odor of crude oil. The black shape was not a rock. It was small. It was coated in a layer of filth, so thick it obscured its form. But he could see a small head, a closed eye. It was an animal. João knelt. The creature was a penguin. It was barely breathing. Each small rise and fall of its chest was a struggle. It was cemented to the rock by the sticky black oil, left here to die. A feeling of anger rose in João's chest. Anger at the careless world that let ships spill this poison into his ocean. That anger was followed by a deep, aching pity for the small creature. It was helpless. It was alone. He looked around. The beach was empty. The ocean was indifferent. No one else was coming. The bird's fate rested with him. He could walk away. He could let nature take its course. He was an old man. This was not his fight. He could not walk away. He gently worked his fingers under the bird's body. The oil was thick and gummy. It clung to the rock. It clung to his hands. The penguin was light, a bundle of fragile bones under the heavy coat of tar. It let out a weak, pathetic cry, the sound of a life surrendering. João lifted it. He held the small, broken creature against his chest. He started the slow walk back to his small house. The work was slow. It was frustrating. For a week, João's small yard became a rescue station. He filled a tub with water. He used soft rags and fish oil to gently break down the crude oil. The penguin, which he had started to call Dindim, was too weak to fight. It stood limp as João worked. He cleaned the filth from each individual feather. The black sludge came away in thick clumps. It revealed the bird's true colors, the sharp black and white of a Magellanic penguin. The process took days. João's back ached. His hands were stained black, but slowly a bird began to emerge from the tar. After the cleaning, there was the feeding. Dindim was too weak to eat. João bought fresh sardines from the market. He would hold one. He would gently open the penguin's beak. He would push the fish down its throat. For 3 days, this was their ritual. João providing food, Dindim passively accepting it. On the 4th day, Dindim took a fish from João's hand on his own. He swallowed it with a flick of his head. It was a small victory. It was the first sign that the bird had decided to live. The weeks turned into months. Dindim grew strong. His new feathers came in, sleek and waterproof. He was no longer the pathetic, oil-soaked creature from the beach. He was a handsome, confident penguin. He followed João everywhere. When João worked in the garden, Dindim would stand nearby, watching with his intelligent eyes. When João sat on his porch, Dindim would rest at his feet. He developed a particular honking call, a call he used only for João. The small, quiet house was no longer empty. It was filled with the sounds of a penguin's waddling feet and happy honks. João was not a lonely widower anymore. He was a man with a penguin. 11 months passed. João knew what he had to do. Dindim was a wild animal. He did not belong in a backyard on an island. He belonged in the ocean. He belonged with his own kind in the breeding colonies of Patagonia, thousands of miles to the south. Keeping him was selfish. The day came. João's heart was heavy. He picked up Dindim. The bird was heavier now, solid with muscle and health. He carried him down to the familiar stretch of beach. He placed Dindim at the water's edge. "Go," João said. His voice was thick with an emotion he did not want to feel. "You are free now. Go to the sea." Dindim looked at the ocean. He looked back at João. He waddled back up the sand and stood at João's feet. João picked him up again. He waded into the surf up to his knees. He placed the penguin in the water. Dindim swam a tight circle. He came right back to João's legs. This continued for an hour. João would encourage him to leave. Dindim would refuse. The bond between them was a rope. It would not break. Finally, João brought Dindim onto a small boat. He rowed out past the breakers into the deep water. He lifted the penguin one last time. He gave him a final sardine. "Goodbye, my friend," he said. He placed Dindim in the water. This time, the penguin swam away. He did not look back. João watched the small, black and white form get smaller and smaller. Then it dove beneath a wave. It was gone. João rowed back to shore. The beach felt empty. His house felt silent. The right thing felt wrong. He was sure he would never see his friend again. He had returned the penguin to the ocean. The story was over. 4 months passed. Life returned to its quiet routine. João fished. He walked the beach. The memory of the penguin was a pleasant, sad ache in his heart. One afternoon in June, he was mending a net in his yard. He heard a sound, a familiar honking call. He stopped his work. It was impossible. It was the wind. It was his mind playing tricks on him. A lonely old man hearing ghosts. He heard it again, louder this time, coming from the beach. He dropped the net. He walked, then started to run toward the sound. He stood at the edge of his property. He looked out at the sand. A single penguin was waddling up the beach. It was walking away from the ocean. It was walking directly toward his house. It lifted its head. It let out the same honking call. It was Dindum. João's heart felt like it would burst. Disbelief warred with a tidal wave of joy. The penguin had come back. He had crossed the ocean. He had found his way back to this specific island, to this specific beach, to this specific man. Dindum waddled right up to João. He rubbed his head against the old man's leg. He was home. This was the beginning of a new chapter, a new routine that amazed scientists and captured the hearts of the world. Every year, like clockwork, Dindum would leave in February. He would swim south. He would join his colony off the coasts of Argentina and Chile. He would spend 4 months there, living the life of a wild penguin. Then, every June, he would return. He would complete an incredible journey, an 80-kilometer swim through the dangerous South Atlantic Ocean. He would navigate back to João's island. He would appear on the beach and waddle home. For 8 months of the year, he was João's companion. He would follow him around the village. He would swim with him in the ocean. He would rest at his feet in the evenings. Their bond was absolute. Dindum would not allow anyone else to touch him. If another person tried, he would peck them with his sharp beak. But with João, he was gentle. He would let João hold him. He would let João bathe him. He would preen João's hand with his beak. A biologist who studied the phenomenon had a theory. The penguin did not see João as a human. He saw him as family. Dindum believed João was also a penguin. His loyalty was not to a rescuer. It was to a member of his own flock. For João, the theory did not matter. The facts were simple. He had saved a small bird, and that small bird had saved him from a quiet, lonely life. He would sit on his porch with Dindum beside him. They would watch the sun set over the ocean. The same ocean that separated them each year. The same ocean that brought his friend back to him. It was a friendship born from an oil spill. A love story written across thousands of miles of water. A bond that proved a home is not always a place. Sometimes it is a person.